Thanks for tuning in, folks. We are messing with the audio format based on a lot of comments. We do take the audio engineering very seriously, as I am a record producer. So give us 1 minute to join the live stream, and I'll be right back. In the meantime, enjoy the colored magnetogram animation. Again, we'll be back in 1 minute. All right, folks, thanks for bearing with us throughout all the technical difficulties and glitches. We're going to start using the music more like bumper music. And we've got it turned down so low that you may not even be able to hear it now. And that is okay with us because it's all about the information. So check out the sunspots. Great image here of the last 8 hours. Sunspot 2740 there leading, and Sunspot 2741 trailing. Sunspot 2741 continues its beta designation. I'm not exactly sure where the other field is there. I really have no idea. And 2741 is still alpha class, so let's look at another view here. I'm going to look at 304 angstroms. Look at 304 angstroms here. It should be pretty epic also. And there's a cycle 24 sun with some cycle 24 sun spots. They acted like they wanted to be cycle 25 sunspots a few days ago, but they're not. They're cycle 24 sunspots. So the solar minimum continues, folks. And let's get on to some more data, such as our custom memes. If you'd like some, email me at smAsho@gmail.com. Our channel could make you understand the difference between your ass and a hole in the ground. Also, check out nextdoor.com to network your neighborhood. If you're not familiar with it, just go read the site. Also, check out theveloshop.net to see the incredible bikes there, such as the Felt AR3, which I will be riding later this year. Part of the reason why we're looking for funding is to sponsor the entire team. Again, if you want to sponsor the team, email me at smashomash@gmail.com. I will connect you to the owner of the shop, who is on the women's Olympic long team, as well as another rider, Kim Geist. So anyway, check the links in the description. Also follow us on Instagram if you like, if you want to see more behind the scenes stuff. Thanks, donors, for supporting us on PayPal. It makes a huge difference. Every little bit counts, including Patreon. Thank you for upping your monthly contribution there. Patron, you know who you are. Please become our next patron here, as we've only got 3. Also, check out smashomash.org, which is just a clone of smashomash.com at this point. Let's read the mission real quick, which is to assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics, to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space, weather, and Earth effects, to connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof of concept solutions to problems, to publish scientific papers in a multidisciplinary manner, including but not limited to the sciences listed before you, to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomena in order to optimize value, reduce risk and liability, save lives and resources, and adapt no matter what the adversity is. And to not be ossified in our beliefs and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. Because dumb people are people too. And ignorance is the root of all knowledge, folks. You got to not know something before you know it. So give people a little time to catch up with the cutting edge science, right? Let's do a wildlife lesson. Now, here we have two different vultures. The one on the left is a useful creature which only preys on the dead, and that's good for the environment. The one on the right is a harmful creature that only preys on the ignorant brain dead, which is bad for the environment. Here ends today's wildlife session. Let's look at some solar data, like the real-time solar wind, which will load like a champion now that we've tweaked our Windows settings just a little. And scratch that, not really loading like a champion, but let's attempt to get this thing to refresh here. As we've figured out how to hold Google's Jalopy software together using all sorts of virtual dental floss and bubblegum. Here's 1 day worth of solar wind, and we see the phi angles dropping right now. We see a couple 180-degree connections here. The position of those sunspots being north of the equator is going to cause an ongoing negative BZ environment here that is associated with earthquakes, and we have seen another 6+, which we will get to in a moment. Solar wind density 4.23 protons per cubic centimeter. Solar wind speed 351. It's just recently downticked a little bit, and the density has downticked a lot since yesterday's live stream. Let's look at spaceweather.com after I hit refresh here. See what they're talking about over there. We got some false auroras over the UK. I don't know what that means. Light pillars caused by ice crystals. So kind of similar to a noctilucent cloud. And if you're not familiar with noctilucent clouds, well, head to spaceweather.com. They talk about them all the time. 10.7 centimeter radial flux is actually at 76 right now, I think. You should see this updated throughout the day today. Let's also check out spaceweathernews.com. Thank you, Ben Davidson, for and there. Oh, all right, there we go. Thank you, Ben Davidson, for putting together the site, as it's got a lot of data on one URL. That's spaceweathernews.com, folks. So we see a small B flare actually happen while I was doing show prep. And for that, we thank you. There was that C-class flare just after our broadcast yesterday. And there's the magnetometer. We see some pretty wild fluctuations here. In fact, it looks like the GOES 14 line has vanished. The GOES 14 line is now off the chart. So not sure where it's gone. It's probably anomalous data, as we've seen some big anomalies in the magnetometer in the past few months. Let's ignore that and move on to the KP index, which is at 2. We're going to ignore that Enlil spiral. We see a dip in the electron flux here. No explanation there, although I would note that the GOES 14 data has vanished also. So there's something going on in the F2 ionosphere layer. The location of the GOES 14 and 15. Charging hazards are pretty much non-existent, and the F2 layer is looking discharged on both the daytime and the nighttime side. If you're not familiar, folks, this is nighttime, where the F2 layer becomes the F layer as the double layers evaporate, so to speak. And the daytime side is around here. The sun is going to be in about that location, a little ahead of these ovals that you see here. Anyway, the F2 layer is looking pretty discharged on both sides, and I'm sure the magnetosphere movie data will back that up. As we've seen the solar wind density and speed decrease. So here's the aurora forecasts. Those are both pretty basic, as the solar wind is pretty much at baseline levels right now. Again, 10.7 centimeter radial flux is back up to 76, I believe. And yeah, we did see a recent spike in the low-level relativistic electron fluence. We also do monitor the greater than 10 mega electron volt electron fluence. We're not going to get into that because we want to make this about a half-hour long video. We're going to just ignore this stuff today. Let's take a look at the Enlil prediction, though. On the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard, if you want to see this data for yourself, it's another good one for our channel's viewers, you spaced out folks out there. Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. And this model looks cray-cray. We got multiple plasma sheets there at different speeds combining and acting real weird on the density side. And these are the coronal mass ejections that were spit out over the past few days from those C-class and that one M-class flare. This is predicting a density spike on the 11th. Don't quote me on that. It's just part of a model. Again, 10.7 centimeter radial flux, well above predicted values, as you can see on this chart. That's a good thing, folks. We don't want the minimum to be too minimal. We'll look at the electron content, as it should be very low, and your GPSs around the equator should be working just fine. Only 1 or 2 meters of error across the planet. Dear Van Allen, you've tightened your belt. All right. And let's move on to the Gong 2, as we're going to see the North Polar field jumping all over the place as a result of those sunspots. And you can see them pulling the southern field up, making it the dominant field from the Earth-based magnetometers. And this is the typical behavior we see with a sunspot. And those magnetometer anomalies are undoubtedly caused by the current sheet crossing here. We've got a polarity boundary crossing going on, and that's what's causing those magnetometer spikes. Let's continue to solarham.net to show you the close-ups of the regions. First 2741. Oh, it has been downgraded to alpha class. All right, so there we go. Once again, data corroborating data, and for that we thank you. Shout out Tosh.0. Don't pick us up, Tosh.0. Don't pick us up. I'm sorry, that was 2741. Okay, now I know what I'm talking about. Yeah, 2741, still alpha class. There you go. 2740, still beta class. Somehow. I'm not seeing what umbra they're talking about here. Looking for it. Is it one of these? Those certainly don't look like North Pole oriented polarity there. So I don't know. I said it was going to be downgraded yesterday. I still say it's going to be downgraded today. It's just taking its good old time. Anyway, let's move on. There's a little bit more stuff to cover here. Here's the location of your planets. We'll advance that 1 week. And there's where things will be located in 1 week. Full moon creeping up on Jupiter. Let's look at the Stereo A space weather beacon, as we always do. By the way, I would note that the live stream is smooth as butter right now. And it's not because we've gotten a new internet connection, although we will be doing that too within a week. Come hell or high water, we have got to get rid of this ISP because it is crap. Thanks for all the feedback yesterday, folks. You're part of the reason why we're using the music only as bumper music now. Anyway, there's the last data. We see nothing Earth facing there in terms of coronal mass ejection, so let's move on and keep this show on the road. We are looking at current data. Jupiter and Saturn are up there right near their zenith. If you're out before dawn, check them out on the ecliptic, whichever hemisphere on which you live. Next, we'll look at magnetosphere movies. Welcome to the data archiving section of the video. This is where it gets boring for a little while, and I don't need to talk. So here's the velocity. We'll let that play all the way through. Next, we'll have a look at the density, which is not playing. And that loaded like a champion. Did you see that? Fantastic. It loaded like my ultra marathoner high school classmate Jen, who just ran a 60K, I think, or was it I think it was a 50K through a bunch of mountainous, gnarly ass trails. Trying to get her in for an interview, as running is part of my cycling roots. Anyway, there's a density. We see some low density and different density coming in the solar wind. Nothing to write home about. Here's the pressure. And we're looking a little bit discharge on the bow shock side, indicating a charge receiving planet. And right toward the end there, which is that F2 ionosphere layer, looking discharge on both ends. So magnetosphere in this exact moment, quite discharged. I'll let this one play through one more time so you can see. Keep in mind that F2 image that we look at on spaceweathernews.com is extremely rapidly updated. If you look at that 5 minutes later, it might look totally different. And for that, we thank you, Australian Meteorology Institute, or whoever makes that F2 layer map, because it is fantastic. Next, we're going to look at ground perturbations, first over the poles. And we're going to let these play through too, as this data is archived but not yet accessible to the public. So there's the location of the Birkeland Current's arrival. Looking right down the sun's, not the sun's, looking right down the Earth's Z fields. And next we'll look on the B field plane. Again, the B field is the field that goes through the magnet, in this case the Earth, and it comes out of the equator, similar to the interplanetary magnetic field in which you live that comes out of the equator of the sun. Main perturbations are once again over Canada and over the southern Indian Ocean. Moving on to cosmic rays. First we'll look at apatity. And we see a general downtrend there. Barentsburg, similar downtrend. Next, Athens. By the way, commenter, thanks for the ideas in the virtual memory settings. I actually tweaked those and I gave it an extra drive. So I'm pretty sure we got all bases covered now. We turned off all the Windows settings. So everything looks more basic now and it should be butter smooth. Anyway, there's Athens. Next, we'll look at Mexico City. Nothing too extraordinary going on there. Next, Moscow. General downtrend at Moscow. So we're seeing a general downtrend, folks. Once again, data corroborates data, and for that, we thank you. We see cosmic rays diminishing when the solar activity increases, and vice versa. Correlating the things together very well. Anyway, there's Oulu, Finland. Here's DOMC Antarctica. And here's DOMB Antarctica. Thanks for tuning in to the Cosmic Ray segment. There are links in the description below this video. Next, we'll look at Zooniverse.org. We'll classify this galaxy real quick. Hey, it's got features. Could it be a disk, edge disk? No, it's not an edge on disk. Certainly not. Is there a bar? I don't see a bar. Do you see a bar? If so, leave a comment, because you'll be mad that I misclassified this. I say there is a spiral arm pattern. I say it's a tight spiral arm pattern. I say I see two spiral arms. Is there a central bulge? Well, that's up for the commenters to figure out, because this is the part where I try to bring out the chat and not crash the system. Oh, it's looking buttery smooth so far, folks. We're going to say small bulge, which is certainly not what she said. Is it merging or disturbed? I don't think it is, actually. It's just a in-between spiral / elliptical galaxy. We're going to say irregular lens or arc and dust lane and something else. Maybe that'll spark some discussion. Not too extraordinary, but a pretty cool galaxy with a semi-ring, semi-elliptical shape and a bit of irregularity. I don't think it's really merging. Anyway, that's how you do it. We need citizen scientists to help out with about 6 million more of these. So classify that one. Also, please follow us on Facebook. And while I'm not a fan, I am a client, since I'm not fanatical about anything. Anyway, facebook.com/smAsho, one of the places that we've been censored, shadow banned, and throttled over the past year. Someday a nova might get us, but big tech never will. Anyway, Facebook, it seems to be full of a certain type of, well, you get the idea. Let's not get too vulgar on this station and give children bad habits. Also, check us out on Twitter. I don't tweet either. I'm not a fan of their diabolical leftism on Twitter. However, if you'd like to share our videos there, that's why they're there. Also, check us out on Minds.com, the social media site that won't censor you. It won't shadow ban you. It won't throttle your views. Minds.com/smAsho, and over there we've got 445,000 views and only 700 subscribers. So we can't get to 1,400 on YouTube, and we can't seem to get to 1,000 on Minds. Now, there aren't as many active users on Minds as there are on Facebook, but guess which way that trend is going? Facebook is losing subscribers, and Minds is gaining subscribers. If you weren't aware, now you know. Also, if you like the music that we're currently not playing any of, check out soundcloud.com. There's the URL, soundcloud.com/Daniel-Nigro-2. As I, smAsho, your host, has a real name. I do have a real name, folks. And that's what it is. I'm not going to say it again. Also, check out soundclick.com/GoldenCat Productions. We branded this a little bit to look like our YouTube channel so our viewers know what they're getting. Golden Cat Productions really is my label. It's 100% indie. We owe nothing to nobody. And if you'd like to buy Professor Krookenstein, well, that's my colleague, Sammy Boy, otherwise known as the Arabian Nightmare. Is that too controversial for you? Well, if so, I don't know. Add the track to your MP3 collection for 99 cents. Let's look at earthquakes as quickly as we possibly can so we can blow through this thing and get a lot of other stuff accomplished today. In the last 24 hours, you see a 4.1 at Alaska. South of the Aleutians there, on the opposite side of the plate boundary. Interesting. Solomon Islands with a 4.8. Kurilsk, Russia, with a 5.0. 5.0 at Papua New Guinea, 4.5 at Chile, 5.6 at Japan. They've been having plenty of quakes at Japan. Shout out Japanese viewers. If you're viewing from that nation, please leave a comment. Tell me if you felt an earthquake. Here's a quake at 93 kilometers in Tonga. Pretty much the site of the deepest quakes. Tonga and Fiji, we've been seeing plenty of quakes at 500 plus kilometers, even some very deep quakes at Japan. So be on alert, folks, because you could get something like a 6.1. And let's hope that one didn't cause a tsunami. Let's see what USGS says. Looks pretty serious, although not a heavily populated area, it looks like. Fortunately, Japan is very good at building buildings that don't crumble under this kind of stress. I don't see any tsunami warnings or anything, folks, and for that, we thank you. It's a 5.1 at Japan, also right near the same location there. Here's a 4.1 as the Middle East quake swarm continues. Shout out Middle East. Do we have any Middle Eastern viewers? I know we got peeps that probably know the family through Syria. Yes, yes. Syrian connection, folks. Syrian connection. Don't worry, it's not ISIS. Just my pal. All right, here's 5.6 in New Zealand. Shout out if you felt that one. It's very far north of the island. They should have called that one Fiji. Here's one off of Japan. 4.7 at Argentina. And let's move on to pressure maps. As anomalous low pressure systems are associated with earthquakes, folks. If you weren't aware, please head to quakewatch.net. Learn the Ben Davidson earthquake prediction technique. Here we see a low splitting up two anticyclones right in the middle of the Pacific. And we do see a significant low here just south of Alaska. Probably going to be moving to the east. Let's let it play through here. And nope, that low is acting very anomalously, heads up Alaska. That low is just moving right to the north. Yeah, that's an earthquake risk right there. Let's stop this thing and look at Oceania as well as Japan. We'll let that play through for there also. As we've been seeing a lot of anomalous lows that sit in place for days and days. So here's the forecast. I think this is probably the GFS forecast. I really don't know. I really don't care, because you should just be on alert if you're in these areas. I mean, just face the music, folks. There's a big earthquake a-brewing. It's going to happen. And the last 7 magnitude earthquake we had was at depth. So have an earthquake plan, be an asset, not a liability when it kicks off. I don't say if it kicks off, because it's going to kick off. The other main area is right here. Those are the locations, folks. Be aware. Don't be scared. Be prepared. To quote Mr. Moriello. All right. Look at volcanoes as quickly as possible so we can get out of here. Here's a Karimsky with a 10,000-foot plume. Shivaluch with a 13,000-foot plume. Try not to play hopscotch on top of Mount Manam. It's got an 18,000-foot ash plume there. Don't fly over Ibu in your recreational aircraft, as it's producing a 6,000-foot ash plume. So volcanic uptick, a lot more volcanoes on the list today than yesterday. So volcanic uptick. Krakatoa back on the list. That's a scary thing. That's produced some new real estate as well as a crater just this year. Dukono with a 7,000-foot plume. Fuego, possible continuous emissions. Revenador, new emissions. And Sabancaya, sporadic puffs. How much more do we have to get to? Not a lot, folks. Here's the AccuWeather US Doppler radar. And it's trying to crash, but it ain't doing it. So we're going to bring out the chat. Don't tell me about virtual memory, Microsoft. Shut down that Chrome browser. So there's the U.S. Doppler radar, folks. We see it's still snowing in New Mexico, and in South Dakota, and in North Dakota, and in Colorado, and in Wyoming. And we got some showers in Idaho, and in Nevada, and in California. How's that for a late spring? Texas, it looks like you're just about done getting hit for a while, except in the very southern portion down there. Let's do a zoom in on that area like we do every day, seemingly. As you get pummeled over and over again, man, those are some nasty storms. Let's zoom in even closer. Heads up, Louisiana. That is going to be on top of you in no time. Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Yuma. It is on the way. I mean, this is enough storm to create essentially a storm surge. So heads up. Have your kayaks ready, folks. I'm sure you already do. Let's look at the GOES water vapor right after we look at the lightning, which is going to be insane. Very active set of systems here. And if you're not familiar with lightningmaps.org, get yourself. All right. Anyway, there's the lightning. By the way, if you zoom in far enough, folks, on your own location, you'll be able to see when the thunder comes. And you'll actually be able to do things like estimate air density variations using this tool. Believe it or not, if you know the physics, there's a math equation you can apply to that. All right, let's move on to water vapor map here. We're going to do a loose zoom of this whole thing as a value-added service. And we're going to play some music because I'm almost done talking, thank goodness. I'm going to zoom in on Arkansas. So I think the main thing people don't understand about carbon fiber bikes is that carbon fiber is like an alien spacecraft compared to a metal bike. It's not just the fact that they're lighter. I know you said, they're more stable. The reason that they're more stable is because roads are made out of rocks and metal bikes are made out of rocks, essentially. And for that reason, your carbon bike does not vibrate the same way a thing like a car does. So as you're riding down the road, that carbon just absorbs all those bad lines created on the road by all those metal vehicles driving on them constantly. It sounds like crazy alien technology, but when you ride a carbon bike, you'll know the difference. When they first started riding them, people complained that you couldn't feel the road, which is the complaint of somebody that doesn't understand the physics, because you don't want to feel the road. The road takes a beating. Your butt takes a beating the more it feels the road. You don't want to feel the road. Anyway, here's the shortwave radiation animation. of that insane storm about to batter New Orleans, Baton Rouge. It's also going to hit Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and it's going to just move to the northeast throughout the day, pummeling everything in its path. Let's make sure this is refreshed before we close this thing out, because we are just about through. I'm not covering any news articles. I'm just stoked that everything worked so smoothly. We got all kinds of freeze warnings and frost warnings in the central U.S. as well as in Michigan, and all kinds of flood warnings, including flash flood warnings for the areas I just covered. I try to do the weather backwards and forwards, folks, without stepping on David Schlottower's toes. Shout out to David Schlottower. Plug us in one of your videos there, Chief. I know you got like 10,000 subscribers. I can't even get to 1,400, so help us out. Snow depth, more than 5 meters. It must be so globally warm in Greenland right now due to your CO2 emissions. So, hey, stop emitting CO2, and here ends our sarcasm section. Before we look at more images of the sun, I would leave you with one last message, De oppresso libere, which translates from Latin to from the oppressed, the free.